Hey guys, this is Drew here with you, and this is an introduction into Lightroom 6. Even though I say it's an introduction into Lightroom 6, this can be most of the topics that I touch on today can be used throughout previous Lightrooms before Lightroom 6. So to get started, today we're gonna take a look into Lightroom, how to import some minor editing features that this thing allows, and throughout this channel, you'll start seeing more videos pop up with finer details. So today is just a brief overview of how to get into Lightroom, how to start working, and just how to understand some of the features that come with Lightroom. So to get started, we're going to want to import. So if we go down to the bottom left hand of the screen, you'll see this import button. Just click it. Boom, over here, if you have an SD card or a camera hooked up, you'll have that option as well. Right now, we're just going off of my hard drive. So I just go down to the folder that has the images that I want to use. Right here, you can either check all or uncheck all. Preferably, I like to uncheck all. That way I can go through and see which ones I want to edit. So for today, we're just going to use these two photos and come down to the bottom, click import. From there, you can see that this middle screen sort of changes. Now, instead of having a blown up photo, you just have these two images that you can breeze through. As well, you have this little menu over here. Adobe likes to call this the left and the right menu, as crazy as that is. And down here is your film strip. If you go over to your left menu, this is your catalog. This is where all your photos have stored. You can see all that I've imported here recently, the two that I just imported. You have your folders if you want to add any folders, your publishing services. This is a nice little feature where you can upload to Facebook, Twitter, whichever social media network you're using. As well, to the right, you have your histogram. Um, you have your quick develop features, which are just some minor features that you can do. If you've taken photos in a RAW, you'll be able to adjust the white balance. If you're shooting in JPEG, that's a feature that you won't have. You can adjust the exposure, clarity, and vibrance. It's just a quick menu. Coming down here, this is your metadata. This is where everything within the every aspect of the file is kept. You can see the dimensions, the exposure, the focal length, the ISO. You can see a flash if you had a flash fire or not. Which camera you're using, camera body, lens. We can say I use a 70 to 200 millimeter. As well, you can add a title to your photos, a caption. You can even add tags. Let's see, where's that? Well, for some odd reason, I'm not seeing that right now. But as I said, you can add little features like that. You can rate your photos. In the end, metadata is where all your information is stored. Allows you to go back, check out the image, see what you liked, what you didn't like, and having that information, you can always go back out when you reshoot, say in the same scenario or same setting like I did at a sunset on a golf course. You can adjust certain things. Like say I don't like the exposure, I can come down here and see, okay, well, maybe I want to change that up a little bit, shorten the shutter speed, whatever it may be. All the information of the file is there. Um, so yeah, let's go on over to the develop menu. My computer's running a little slow, I'm sorry about that. Alright, over here in the develop menu, as you can see, the menu opens up quite a bit. You have a lot more options down here to perform edits, whatever it may be. But you still have the same film strip over here. You get a little bit of difference in the menus over here. These are the preset settings, the history, little things like that that allow you to see what's going on throughout the development process. So as you can see, I have two pictures here. There's a reason behind that. In this image, this guy's right here is my friend John. He's holding a gray card. Well, when I'm shooting portraits, I ask a lot of people if I have a chance to hold a gray card. What the gray card allows me to do is to come in and adjust the white balance. So in your camera, you have these settings and you're able to adjust your white balance to where you want it to be. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you're still not getting the color or the light exposure that you would expect. And as I said in the earlier, you can go back to library and change that yourself, or you can come over here and get a true white balance. And by having a gray card, you're able to obtain the true white balance. So in order for me to do that, I'll go over here to basic, just click on basic. See this little dripper right here? I click the dripper, I come over to the gray card. It's even all throughout, the color, everything. So I just come on over to the gray card, click a spot. Notice how the color within the photo changed. That's how the scene originally looked. It was very yellow, the sun was going down, and it brightens the picture a little bit. If we go back and we click, let's see, I'm using an Apple, so it's Command Z, but I think it's Control Z on a PC. Now, see, the photo looks dull. So I always suggest use a gray card whenever you can. And if you don't have a gray card, or if you say you're shooting a wedding or something like that, you don't have the option to tell the bride and groom, hey, let's hold on with the service. Let's have these guys hold a gray card. So, this is just a tip for if you're able to do it, use it. If not, your camera settings generally do the trick. I honestly don't think I set this on my camera settings. That's why it turned out that way. So what I can do now is just come down here to the film strip, hit shift, cross over, highlight the other photo, and down here at the bottom of the menu bar, you have this sync button. Just click sync. Generally, I don't change anything up here. Generally, all I'm syncing is the white balance, so I just make sure that the white balance is checked. It's right here, top left, and then just click synchronize. So we come over to the next image, and if you want to see what it looked like previous, just click the dual image over here, and you can see that just by adjusting the white balance, I was able to make this picture pop. That's a great feature that you have within Lightroom. So let's exit out of there. Now let's get to the actual picture. A lot of things within this picture look fine. He was just my test subject for the day, so please excuse any flaws that I might have. To me, I think the picture actually looks really good. But if I wanted to change things up, I have this option over here on the right side of the screen. Right now we're going to start in basic. As you can tell, the exposure is a little dark. Generally, they say you want to have everything sitting right here in your histogram, right in the middle. This lets you know. By the way, in a histogram, you have a left, a right, and a middle section. Well, your middle section is everything, is balanced, your lights and your darks. It's basically the mid. And then you have your darks right over here to the left and your lights to the right. As you can see, a lot of it is over there to the dark. So let's just go and see what adjusting the exposure will do. Now you don't want to overexpose, like see, ooh, that's a little rough. But I do want to click it up a little bit. It's later in the day. This was a little past the witching hour for sunset, and the light was behind us. So I'm just going to take that up a little bit. Following a histogram and what people say sitting in the middle, to me it's a personal preference. You don't have to do it. As you can see, if I get everything in the middle, well, that's a little too bright. So as long as everything is touching somewhere in the histogram, the lines go all the way over to the darks and to the lights, you're doing fairly good. As well, this is a raw file, so we can just come over to the history and say we don't like something we did. We have the option to go back, take it back a scene, see, just by clicking back and forth. So you can always see what you did and go back. That's the good thing about a raw file, is you can always go back. So if you shoot in JPEG, that's cool. I prefer raw. The choice is up to you. Alright, so now let's go down to the highlights and the shadow sections. This is exactly how it sounds. You have your highlights and you have your shadows. So basically your light and your darks. But affecting more of the midgrounds, unlike your whites and your blacks, which tend to just draw towards the whites are going to focus more on this section right here, and the blacks are going to focus more on the shadows. It sort of leaves out the midgrounds. Preferably, I think I like where everything is at, so I'm not going to change that, but as you can see, by adjusting it, things get darker and lighter, whatever it may be. As well, if you say you go over too far, you don't like it, instead of having to draw everything back to 0, you can just double click, everything goes right back. This is for all settings, or if you want to reset everything, you can just go down here and click this reset button. The shadows, I think I do want to darken those up a little bit, so we'll just bring that down just a smidge. There we go. My whites, there's a little trick for this, and on a PC you're going to hit the Alt button. On a Mac you're going to hit the Option key, and you click that, and then you click on your whites. You see? Now you can start seeing where everything bleeds through. And I like this section because preferably I like to have my whites just, well, see, this is a very bright section where the sun is coming through, but you can adjust them without having to look at the entire image, which is a feature that I like. As well, you can come down, do the same thing for the blacks, and preferably I like my blacks really dark. I like the picture to pop on all angles. See how it brought out the detail and the shadows. But yeah, all these tools are yours to mess around with. This is just a quick, brief overview of my process for developing an image and explaining to you some of the, like I said, some of the features that are given. The clarity is exactly as it sounds. It's almost like a sharpening tool, but not necessarily a sharpening tool. Preferably, I think I like the clarity within this picture, but we can always go in and see, yeah, I think I do want to sharpen it up a little bit, kind of make some of the lines a little more solid. So as well, when you're moving around the clarity, as you can see, the image will see it sort of smooths out and sort of sharpens up. Moving these around too much, if you notice right here, it can get a little noisy. That's up to you if you like it. Most images you don't want to have that noise going on, but as well here in Lightroom there is a way to adjust the noise within a section. To be honest, I don't like where clarity, vibrance, or saturation is going to take me right now, so I'm just going to leave that alone. But to further explain vibrance, if we come over here, it's almost like a saturation tool, but not as harsh. It hits more the mids and everything like that. It hits more of the unsaturated areas. Saturation hits everything. So when you move it, everything is going to become more saturated. As I said, I don't really need to use that, so let's go back up to here and just click out of here. Now, as we were just discussing, we have some colors in the image, and I really want this shirt to pop a little bit more. So I'll come down to this HSL color black and white tab right here, and I'll just click on it. Within this section, you have the hue, the saturation, the luminance, and the all-around tools right here. I just want the saturation to go up, so I'm going to come down here. I'm going to go down to red. We're just going to bring it up a little bit, make that shirt pop just a little bit. Luminance, this is going to adjust the brightness of everything. If I go over here, it's just going to, basically where the light hits it, it's going to brighten it up a little bit. If I take it down, it's just going to sort of remove the light from the image. I don't really think I want to do much there, so I'm just going to leave that alone. As well, you can go through and do this with all the other colors. Yellows, so you want your yellows to pop or go down a little bit. You want the greens in the background. We can just come through and adjust. You can adjust as you need it. A simpler tool is right here. You just click it, hue, saturation, luminance, you have it all right here. Preferably I like working out of the HSL menu. Once again, the choice is yours. So let's go out of there. Detail, as we can tell, I told you, as we can see, I need to sharpen it up a little bit. This isn't the greatest photo now that I'm looking at it. So, but yeah, here we can sharpen the image up. We can adjust the noise. Preferably I just use these two. And you just move it up to your desire, up and down to your desire, where you want it to be. Preferably I like it between 60 and 70. That way we can just get a little more detail on the lines and not have everything so blurry. As well, we can see that I created just a little bit of noise. If I want to knock that out, you just move this noise reduction luminance button and you just take it to where you want it. Like I like it right there. We seem to have eliminated most of the noise. If most of y'all don't know, noise is is little specks in the background where the color isn't, where it's, I guess it's like not painted. I don't know the best way to put it, but they're little dots and there's little speckles. Most of the times you can adjust the noise through your ISO settings. I like to keep my camera setting at a low ISO. It generally reduces the noise, but it does affect the shutter length, the shutter speed, um, in order to grasp the light. The lower the ISO, the more open you need to be to grasp the light. The higher the ISO, the less of a the oh Lord, where am I going with this? The lower of an ISO, the longer the shutter speed, and the lower the f-stop, the higher the ISO, depending on if it's sunny, the lower the f-stop, and you can use a faster shutter speed. I hope I got that right. If not, feel free to double check. I just know that I keep mine lower. If you're doing a nighttime photo, you're obviously going to have to bump your ISO, because if you have moving objects and stuff like that, you can't just let your camera just sit there and with a long shutter speed and expect to not get blur with anything without anything like that within the image, unless you have the option to. But if you got people or you're at a concert, you're going to need to bump that ISO to be able to capture that light. But also remember that the higher the ISO, just in general, the more noise you're going to get. You have other buttons and other choices down here that you can utilize. Generally, I'm just using the sharpening and the luminance. It's all up to you. Sometimes I might have to go down to the radius, detail, masking. That's just getting real far, but throughout my videos we'll start diving into more of the finer tuning aspects that Lightroom has to offer. So let's see, we've done detail. Here's another thing. Generally, if I'm taking a landscape shot or out at the river or something like that, you have this awesome feature down here. It's the lens corrections. You have the basic, profile, color, and manual. I generally just stick to basic, and any aberration within the camera, like say you have camera blur over, or not camera blur, but what's it called, where the bowl of your lens is able to be seen in the shot, and you start getting those rounded edges and stuff like that. You can just come down here and click, boom, boom, and that generally takes everything away. As well, you have this auto feature over here, so say if I took a picture crooked and he wasn't standing straight, this would straighten up my image. I don't feel as if, well, actually I did need to use it. See right here at the top where the darkness was, where it was a lot darker? That's coming from the bowl of the lens. Um, but yeah, that's a feature I use generally on most of my landscapes. I tend not to use it as much in a portrait shot, but as you can tell, it did brighten up these edges, because I don't know if I'm going to use a vignette. That's the next subject I want to get on, is the effects tab. Right here in the effects menu, we can do a vignette, and what that does is it draws you to the center of the image. And if you take it over to the left, it's dark and it's black and it uses those colors, and then if you take it to the right, it brings out a whiter color. Preferably, if I do use one, it's in the darker side. Generally, as you can tell, it just blends into the trees and it doesn't really affect the photo unless I go all the way over like that, because I really don't want it to be pronounced. But as you can see, I don't really think I need one, so I'm not going to use one. But you can, like let's do this, and then you can adjust the roundness of it. So if you want to take it out a little bit, bring it in. The point of a vignette is to draw you to the center of an image. As well, you can feather it. This is a cool feature. Real sharp, real feathered. It's sort of like a gradient scale. But yes, so as I said, I don't need to use, as well, sorry about the text popping in. I had my phone hooked up to my computer. Uh, but yeah, so there's the vignette feature. Camera calibration, I don't really do much with that. Up here you have some more tools. We'll get further into this as we go on. These are for more of like the facial features if you want to smoothen the skin, little things like that, teeth whitening, more and I wouldn't say advanced, but more deeper into the editing that is allowed throughout Lightroom. Like I said, there are many options, including if you go all the way here, you can have a slideshow if you want. You can create a slideshow. You have the map right over here. You can see exactly where the picture was taken if you allow your camera to record that type of data. Just cool little features as we go on throughout these tutorials. So if you liked it, be sure and click the like button. Leave comments if I left anything out, or if there's anything that you want to touch on. Maybe I'll hit it in another video, or if not, I'll just get back to you throughout the comment section. As well, please hit subscribe. The more subscribers, the more videos I'll pop out. I know some of my beginning videos were a little rough. I'm getting used to this, so work with me here, guys. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.